The show can go on for TikTok's American users. President Donald Trump has approved a deal between its parent firm ByteDance and two US companies, Oracle and Walmart, that allows TikTok to continue operating in the country.
So everybody will be happy. It's a severance. It'll continue to be named TikTok as it was all along, and that's it. That's it. So I can say that I have given the deal my blessing. If they get it done, that's great. If they don't, that's okay too. But it's a great deal for America.
But while Trump says the company's US operations have severed ties with its Chinese owner, ByteDance says it's only selling a 20% stake to the American companies while maintaining majority ownership. It's also said it knows nothing about a $5 billion contribution to a new education fund that Trump claims is part of the deal.
As for the so-called $5 billion tax to the U.S. Treasury, that refers to an estimate of the corporate income tax and other taxes TikTok will have to pay in coming years as part of its business development.
Industry experts say TikTok's parent company will also maintain control over user data and that it will remain accessible from China. President Trump had earlier said this was a security threat to the US. And his opponent in the upcoming presidential elections, Joe Biden, says the Trump administration has not addressed this risk.
It's a matter of genuine concern that TikTok, a Chinese operation, has access to hundreds of millions, over 100 million young people, particularly in the United States of America. And that's a concern. What I always worry about, though, is what Trump does and the way he does it.
While US lawmakers remain concerned over the rising influence of Chinese technology firms, another app from the mainland, Tencent's WeChat, has also managed to keep its US operations alive after a court struck down President Trump's ban on it. And Washington's go-ahead means ByteDance's US business and plans to launch a $60 billion IPO can keep ticking along, at least for now. Mubin Nasir, TRT World.
Well, for more on this, let's speak with Santosh Rao in Princeton, New Jersey. He's Head of Research at Manhattan Venture Partners. Welcome back to the program, Santosh. Now, Donald Trump is hailing this as a victory on his part. He wants, I guess, the world to believe that he forced the sale of TikTok's US operations to Oracle and Walmart. But the Chinese side seems to believe that they'll ultimately still be in control of this entity. What's your reading of this? Will the Chinese firm ByteDance still ultimately have the controlling stake in TikTok Global?
Well, the situation is very fluid at this point. Nothing's final yet. The original impression was that US would own, Oracle, Walmart, and the other investors would own 53% of the company. So it's a majority owner of ByteDance, but China is denying that. So I don't think the main issue of control has not been resolved yet. So I don't know where it'll go yet. It's still a very fluid situation. The main reason for this whole thing was the control issue. China is not willing to give it up. US is not going to move ahead unless they get it. So it's a very fluid situation. So we'll see how it plays out.
And of course, the president's main motivation for forcing the sale of the US operations were national security grounds. Donald Trump had argued that the Chinese company ByteDance and therefore the Chinese government would have access to the user data of 80 million plus American TikTok users. Do you think this deal effectively allays those concerns?
No, it does not. I think the data is still going to lie with them. They're still going to own the algorithm. They're going to the control is still there. So I don't know how Trump has reconciled what he said in the past and to what he's doing now. So I think there's a lot of questions still. There are more questions than answers at this point. So I would still wait. I don't know if there is a middle ground as yet. Oracle seems to be happy if they can get in the current setup and with the 53% ownership that they claim that they think will happen with the U.S. investors combined, they feel that there's sufficient interest there, sufficient control there. But the main thing, I don't think it'll pass muster because the underlying control is still with the Chinese government, technically, with ByteDance, which by inference is Chinese government. So I would still wait and see. There's some more steps to go before we get some more clarity. This ruling in favor of WeChat could buy some more time for ByteDance if they also appeal, and which I think they did. So they might buy more time. So I think this whole situation is very fluid at this point. Control is the main issue, and it's not resolved yet.
And the Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden would seem to agree with you that this deal does nothing to remove those national security concerns. Other tech analysts have said the same because ultimately a Chinese firm would have overarching control. So if the national security concerns are still there, what do you think was Donald Trump's motivation in all this? Was it simply just, I guess, a bit of showmanship in the lead up to the presidential election in November?
Little bit of that. It's a political season right now. Everything has a political angle to it, so you cannot really separate politics from non-politics. So that's a given. Plus, Oracle is a big supporter of Trump, so there's a little bit of that playing in there. So there's a lot of cross currents in there. Don't know exactly, but I'm surprised. It's typical Trump. He goes all the way and then backs up a little bit and gets what he wants, essentially, in the end. So there's a little bit of posturing, which he's very good at that. So let's see where this settles. But if he cannot resolve the control issue, I think it's going to be a negative for him and his reputation as a deal maker.
Yes, it certainly seems to raise more questions than answers. Santosh Rao in Princeton, thank you so much again.